David Flint, the National Convener of Australians for a Constitutional Monarchy. Professor, thanks for your time. This is exciting news.
Yes, it is indeed exciting. I think Australians have shown great interest in this family, in Prince William and Kate, but also, of course, in the baby. The birth of the baby was a major news event around the world, and it shows the strong support that Australians have for the constitutional monarchy.
They certainly have resonated with the Australian people, William and Kate, haven't they?
I think that's very true, and I think both William and Harry exemplify, if they exemplify one thing, it's service, a wish to serve the nations with which they're associated and serve the disadvantaged and the disabled. And I think that resonates very well with Australians. They know that they're not there for golden handshakes or for personal benefit. They're there to do good. And people like that. They're a young, fascinating, attractive family, and they exemplify what is good in life.
We have at various times had greater pressure to move to becoming a republic. What's your feeling of the national mood at the moment?
Well, we experimented with that in the 90s. It took an enormous amount of time. Our politicians were tied up from doing their core duties involved in that. The result was very clear. Even at a difficult time in some respects for the royal family, the victory was nationally in all states and 72% of electorates. But since then, if you go across the opinion polls and over time, the trend has been away from support for some vague, unknown republic, because the Republicans still haven't worked out precisely what they want to do. I think the Crown, the Australian Crown, which has been with us from the settlement, is such an intrinsic and inherent part of the Australian system that people can't see why one should change that. It's certainly not broken. Why fix that? There are many other aspects of our system of government which Australians are looking at and want to change, but why change the Crown when it works so well and is so costless?
Professor, if they do indeed bring baby Prince George with them, a lovely symmetry to when Prince William first visited.
Yes, that's a beautiful balance, isn't it? Two future kings of Australia coming here, the very young baby and the father and mother. It's a wonderful thing.
Professor David Flint, I do appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Years ago, a majority of British citizens wanted to get rid of the royal family, while over here, the Republican movement was in full swing. Now, thanks to a couple of down-to-earth princes, a real-life fairy tale princess, well, Duchess to be precise, and a little future king named George, the Windsors are back in a big way.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and the Prince of Cambridge.
It was the birth of a future king and the rebirth of our romance with the royals.
Long live the future king.
And with news that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are coming down under, some Australians are in a right royal frenzy.
Very excited. Love to see them. As his name is William, he thinks he's Prince William.
It'll be really good to have them around.
Baby Prince George will be packing his passport, we think. One thing is for sure, if he does make the journey, it won't be in economy.
Good luck on the plane.
It's a long flight.
Royal correspondent Rob Jobson believes the Windsors' itinerary will include 2 weeks in Australia next April.
Hugely exciting visit, one that probably does mirror what happened with Charles and Diana. And if you remember back then, there were massive crowds on the streets in Sydney and in Melbourne and all the places they visited.
That visit sparked our love affair with the Queen of Hearts. But following Princess Diana's tragic death in 1997, public feelings towards the royal family were lukewarm. News.com.au commentator Melissa Hoyer.
I think Diana's death did put the royals a bit on the nose. We wanted to grieve with the rest of the world, but in wanting to grieve with the rest of the world, we also wanted to say, you know, actually we don't want to be a part of this anymore. It's really not us. We are a new, young, relatively fresh country. Let's get on the Republican bandwagon.
The man leading that movement right now is Professor Jeff Gallop.
Well, we believe that Australia should have its own citizen as our head of state.
It's totally inappropriate, really, for our system to be based upon that of another country.
But Professor David Flint is a traditionalist at heart, all for the current system.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, still prevails, and I think there's a great love and interest for the monarchy.
So how do the rest of us feel? A recent survey of more than 1 million people found 38% of us are in favour of cutting Australia's ties to the monarchy, and that young people are less likely than over 55s to support a republic.
They're banking on the young changing and my generation dying off. Well, it's not going to happen.
Younger Australians in particular have become wrapped up in this royal fairy tale. Kate's sapphire engagement ring, once the late Princess Diana's, has sparked a spate of copycats, purchasing rings just like this one. Stuart Bishop from Hardy Brothers Jewellers.
Anything that comes up surrounding the royals is fabulous for us.
Big business too for magazine publishers. Aussie covers splashed with images of the glamorous couple. Famous magazine editor Lucy Chesterton.
The upcoming royal tour is, of course, for huge celebration around Australia. The excitement in the air has people amped up. It's not even happening until April 2014, but people are already plotting and planning about where the royal family will be touching down and the places that they might visit.
Tinica Everard.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are to visit Australia next year in what will be their first overseas trip since becoming parents. It's anticipated their son Prince George will accompany them, echoing a tour William's parents enjoyed here 30 years ago.
He made a promise.
But if I may, I'll be back.
And like all good princes, he's keeping his word. After much speculation, it's official. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will take an official tour of Australia and New Zealand next year. Prince George has not confirmed his attendance, but fingers are crossed.
There's no doubt that this visit reinforces the way the monarchy has an extremely unique ability to renew itself.
Prince William was just 9 months old when his parents Charles and Di brought him to the outback.
It was an early morning arrival at Alice Springs.
Prince George will be the same age when the tour is scheduled. It's likely we'll see a ladder lineup similar to his birth.
I think the competition will be pretty strong because everyone will be looking for that extra picture that you won't be able to get officially. They know there's a payday at the end of it, so yeah, I think it'll be on.
Kate hasn't been to Australia in any official capacity. She spent a few brief and breezy moments on Australian soil, changing planes on the way back to the UK. William, however, is almost at home here, visit after visit, drawing crowd after crowd. News of the visit came as the royal couple was in the spotlight at the phone hacking trial in London. The court heard Kate Middleton's voicemails were hacked. In one message, William called her babykins, and in another told her he'd almost been shot with blanks during a training exercise at Sandhurst.
Exactly where the royals will go on this first official tour is still in the works, but we all know how much the royals like crown jewels, so there's little doubt they'll be visiting our jewel in the crown, Sydney Harbour.
Royal touchdown, April next year. Lizzie Pearl, 9 News.